We're talking about finding leaks, so I also have to talk about leak dyes. So I'm Ty, and I don't like leak dye because tie-dye, I'm a little bit too young for that, but it doesn't mean it doesn't have its place. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of leak dyes. So one thing is, I'm old school. I believe there should be two things inside of a refrigeration system. There should be refrigerant and refrigerant oil. Anything else is a contaminant. That's the way I grew up. That's the way I came up through the process in the field. But it doesn't mean that anything else is going to be bad. It's just my viewpoint from it. So they make tons of different products. Some of these products work well with the system, and other products are actually contaminant. They can actually cause harm to the system. I'm not going to tell you which products are good and which products are bad because I try to generally avoid all of those type myself. Doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It doesn't mean that my decision should be applied to you. You're going to have to make your own way in this field. Let's talk about getting that dye into the system. Now, some of these older ways we had was an injector like this, and you could actually set how much quantity you wanted to put into the system. What an adapter we hooked to the low side, and then what you did was overcome the low side pressure in pushing this dye into the system. It mixes the oil, and you come back later and find that leak. They make some other products like this that has little adapters on it. Same style, you squeeze and you push it into the suction line. But if we see here, there's air inside this hose. So one of the things that always worries me is if we're pushing this product into the system, are we not also pushing air or contaminants into that system? So that's one of the things that always make me worry. Now another product has this, and you actually have your tube that you hook up to this screw system, and what you do is you're actually forcing it in. By screwing that down, it actually overcomes and pushes it in. It's much easier using these tubes having to use your own pressure, because the screw method allows you to force that in a whole lot easier. Then they also come out with methods like this where it's a pre-charged amount. And what you do is hook the high side up and the low side up with this, and it has a set amount inside, and it uses the high pressure to push into the low side. And once you use it once, it's done, and you throw the whole entire thing away. They also make another style like this, and what this does is you unscrew this, and then you take and put the dye inside. You fill this up with the dye, however much you need, and then you put the cap back on, and then you take and hook a hose from the high side to the low side. And the high pressure pushes and forces all of this dye into the low side. But again, one of the things I worry about is what about the air that's inside? The air that happens when I put this in, the air from the gap that is left, and the air in the hoses. You could literally be pushing contaminants into the system. And it's very difficult to bleed this off without getting dye everywhere. The other thing I don't like about working with leak dye is the fact that it gets absolutely everywhere. It gets all over your hands, it gets all over your clothes. I'm trying not to touch this, and I already have dye all over me right now. It makes a huge mess, and it gets over your tools, gets on your steering wheel of the van, and also it gets up inside of your gauges. And this can clog up things like digital gauges, plus cross-contamination. I have dye on this equipment, I go hook it up another piece of equipment, now I'm spreading dye into other units. So being mindful of the dye and how it works and understanding that, hey, it's your decision. But if you're going to use a leak dye, I ask you to do this one thing. Please take and put a label on the system. If nothing else, mark the system so the next person knows there's dye inside that system. So now they can go get their older set of gauges, something else, so they're not worried about cross-contamination, and that way they can be protected. They can protect their equipment, they can put gloves on and protect themselves. So if you're going to use a dye, please make sure you mark that system for the next person coming through. Now, again, not all dyes are bad. Check with the manufacturer's labeling. Check with Carrier, check with Trane, check with whoever you're working with, that equipment, and see if they recommend using a dye or not. Some of them actually have dyes they recommend using, and others say do not use this product or do not use any type of this product. For example, I also teach with Copeland, and Copeland has some products they approve and some that they don't. Now, Copeland does make it clear when we teach those class that just because this product's not approved doesn't mean it won't work in that system. It says this product, whatever product was approved, that product paid money to Copeland for them to test the product inside their compressors and say it's okay, which is a very expensive endeavor. They say we test your product in our systems and it passed all of our tests, so it's not going to be an issue. Now, it doesn't mean that all products that don't pass are going to be bad. It just means they haven't paid to be tested. Now, I like to know if it's passed the test from a manufacturer, then hey, I'm all for it. So once we get the dye into the system, that's only half the battle. We also have to come back and look for the dye, and that's one of my issues. People will go and put dye in systems and never come back, and it doesn't do any good. So we got two things to consider. If we put the dye in the system, it takes time before that dye gets all the way through the system and before that dye starts coming out where the leak is. Typically, it takes about a day, just the right amount of time. But if we wait too long to come back, that dye ends up getting everywhere. We're gonna have a dye leak right here, and that dye ends up spreading all over this whole unit because of the condenser fan. Same thing with our inside unit. We could have a refrigerant leak right here at the bottom of our evaporator coil, and that dye then spread all over the evaporator coil. So when we go look for that leak, everything in here is yellow or orange, or everything out here is yellow or orange. So now we can't still find out where that leak's gonna be. That doesn't mean it's gonna happen in all scenarios. That's typically with a larger leak, but it does happen from time to time. I go to call somebody to put dye in, I bring out my lights to check for it, and I found out that it's just everywhere. It's just made a huge mess. So coming back and looking for that leak after you put the dye in, also very important. Now when you come back to look for that, we also have some options. We got to have some kind of a light to help us see it. Now some of you can see with your naked eye, but most of the time you're going to have some kind of a help. Now they make these ultraviolet lights. Now these ultraviolet lights are quite expensive. They're high quality lights, and if you put it on the dye, it helps show up. It shows very bright, and you can find out where the leak is in the system. I have two different manufacturers, name brand manufacturers, these ultraviolet lights that I use for shining them in. When you're using these lights, you got to make sure you use a safety glasses to help protect you from those UV rays and never look into the light itself. So it does work really well at finding leaks. Now recently in the last few years, I've also found something else that works. I have this very cheap black light that I got at a very big box store that we won't name. And this black light I found out shines better most of the time for most dyes I've seen than the very expensive UV light. Now it may not be the case everywhere, but I'm finding that I have really good luck finding leaks with dyes with using this black light. So I suggest before you buy a very expensive ultraviolet light, just give that black light a try. You might just be surprised. Now I say that, people get all freaked out. No, a black light doesn't work the same. Maybe it doesn't. I'm just giving you some of my experience that I've found that the black light actually works better for me. Now you check and you do your own, but this was like $12. It's an easy thing to lose money on, where this one is very expensive, and I would not want to buy another one of these. Now, also a cool thing you can do with black lights or UV lights, they both, if you shine it onto a scorpion, the scorpion actually lights up. They glow under black lights and UV lights. So if you live in Nevada, Arizona, Texas, you got scorpions, really cool thing to do at night, but I digress. Now, some manufacturers found a way to capitalize on putting dye in the system. They have other things they put in. Like this particular one, I won't tell you the product name, but it says it has magic frost. So it has magic frost, and it says it helps make the cooling system work better. So what it's trying to do is it has something to do with the oil, and for the oil not to be sticking to the sides of the evaporator, so we have better heat transfer properties. I've read a lot about it, but it also makes me worry if the oil's not sticking to the copper piping here, is it also not sticking to the compressor? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying I have a lot of questions. And when something calls it a magic frost, I kind of think, well, it's just magical unicorn juice. Let's just make cold air happen. It's just magic. There's science what we do, and so when I see magic frost, it immediately gives me concern. Now again, if you're with this product, I'm not saying it's a bad product. I'm saying that I'm not sold on it. I also believe in the same rule of there should be two things in the refrigeration system: refrigerant, oil. Everything else is a contaminant. Doesn't mean that that's facts, but anytime I see stuff like this, I always worry. Now, another thing you're going to see advertised is leak stop. Hey, not only can you put dye in this system, you can put this product in the system, and it's going to fix the refrigerant leaks. So let's talk about that. They say that a lot of them that works like coagulation. So if you have a leak in your skin, the blood starts coming out, it coagulates, and it solves the leak. They say it works the same way in the refrigeration system, and I have my doubts on that. I've used it in the past and had zero luck with it. I've had some friends use it, have zero luck with it, but I hear through the grapevine, a friend of a friend of a friend says that it works great. Now, me being old school, I like to have refrigerant oil in the system, and anything else I'm always concerned about. What is this product doing inside that system? So yeah, it says that it fixed a leak when it comes out, but also what about my fixed surface metering device? And they say, hey, it only activates when it touches water or it touches air. Well, in my refrigeration system, what if somebody took their gauges off the wrong way and they have air in there, or maybe a little bit of moisture in there? Could that possibly coagulate and clog up our metering device, or our filter dryer, or our screen before it? What about the oil passages inside the compressor? What's it doing to the oil in the compressor? Is it clogging any of those tubes up? I don't know the answer to that. I do not have the answer to those questions, but those are things that I worry about. Instead of saying, hey, this product does this and more, put it in, it just makes the stuff magically happen, I personally am very concerned about that. I've had a customer with a 25-year-old system, and it's just barely hanging on, and we got some refrigerant leaks in the evaporator core we're not going to fix anyways. Hey, I'd have no problem trying that leak stop. It's just trying to keep a little bit more life out of that old system anyways. You really have nothing to lose but the cost of the product. In those scenarios, hey, absolutely go for it. For you in the field, it's going to be your choice. There is no HVAC police. Nobody's going to come back behind you and be like, hey, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. For the most part, it's you out there doing it. Now, that's just my viewpoint, but you are going to be out in the field. You're going to be in front of the customer. You're going to be using these products. You have the choice of, hey, I'm going to try this and see if it works, or I'm going to not try it. Give me feedback. If you use this product and it works, give me the full scenario of why it's working. Not just, hey, I put some in and it solved all the problems. Give me the full scenario. Hey, I had a system is this old, or this system is only a few years old. I had these problems with it. I didn't have any problems with it. I couldn't find a problem with it. Whatever it is, give me the feedback. Whether you love it, you hate it, let me know in the comments below. I've just given you my personal opinions on it. You're welcome to read the comments and see what other people found with these products. Again, there's many different ways of finding a leak. This one isn't my favorite. I kind of try to stay away from tie-dye, but it's going to be entirely your choice. So here's what it looks like just on the table where it spilled out. Here's what it looks like under a regular flashlight. So you can see it with just a plain flashlight. Here's what it looks like under an ultraviolet light. And here's what it looks like under a black light. So you can see the black light works really well for this product. That doesn't mean it's going to work for every product, but here's what it looks like under that black light.